Welcome to the Lessons for Luca podcast. I'm your host, Michael Santi, author of New Man Emerging, transformational trainer and coach, and most importantly, I'm Luca's dad. I want to talk this episode about, it's very obvious, and especially in America, that we live in a high achiever society. We value achievement and accomplishment and that rugged individuality. We value that ascension and that evolution of improving our state. And in that high achievement society, that high achievement culture, although it's valuable and it's noble, there's also a fine line where it becomes burnout. And the challenge with that is that, especially where I'm from and really, the Northeast or around a lot of urban areas, people can tend to live with burnout as a badge of honor. Like we, burn the candle at both ends, or, I was up all night, hustling and grinding. And like we live in that hustle and grind, high achievement culture. Well, if that's the water that we swim in, it's going to, number one, be very natural to run out of runway and burn out. But number three, we'll tend to normalize that and even, pedestal it and over-admire unhealthy patterns. So what I want to talk about today is there's 4 reasons that we burn out. And rather than just hit the pedal and go even harder and faster on burning out, I want to be able to identify where I'm burning out and why, and then make the necessary corrections and adjustments so that I can still have that high achievement culture while at the same time being harmonized and balanced and making sure that all my priorities are handled. The first reason that we burn out is that our systems are unsustainable. When our systems are unsustainable, what we start to identify is that the way that I'm living now in my health, in my finances, in my habits, in my daily interactions, my relationships, my marriage, that when we zoom out and look at it from a long horizon, we're going to run out of runway. That I can't keep doing what I'm doing the way that I'm doing and have that last in a healthy, harmonious way extended over decades or years of time. So when we look at systems that are unsustainable, 2 easy ones to highlight are our health systems and our financial systems. That if in my everyday I'm spending money I don't have, well, that's unsustainable. Stretch it out over time, I'm going to run out of runway. I'm going to continue to keep myself in the red and in debt. I've got to create systems that actually bring that spending or those habits and those behaviors back to sustainable. If you think about health and our health domain, in high achievement culture, the first thing that gets sacrificed is typically our health. When we're young and we're energetic and we're enthusiastic and we're hungry, working long hours and burning the candle at both ends, when we're young and we have that level of surplus, it makes sense. It's not that much of a stretch. It's not a huge inconvenience. But as we get older and we have families and children that really require and rely on us to be sound and well rested and present and healthy, we've got to make sure that those systems are sustainable. If your systems are unsustainable, you're going to develop behaviors and habits where I'm just reaching for quick energy or quick income or a quick hit, and it's going to keep me stuck in a scarcity cycle. No matter how hard I'm working, no matter how much effort I'm putting in, if my systems are unsustainable, I'm going to hit a wall eventually and run out of runway. So that's the first indicator or the first reason that we're burning out. There's a part of us that knows I can't keep doing this the way that I'm doing it. The second reason we burn out is our energy or our effort is inaccurate. Humans tend to default to what's familiar, what we know, or what we're competent and good at. And so if we broaden out our domains and we look at our financial domain and our marriage domain, our health domain, our spiritual domain, our relationship domain, many people might be struggling in a particular domain. Like if someone's struggling in their marriage and their marriage is really at a friction point, they may feel more comfortable and have more competency at work or making more money or grinding it out. But those are two radically different domains. So if my marriage is struggling and I just keep working more, I keep spending more time at the office, I keep doubling down on hustling and grinding, that means my energy and effort is inaccurate. This domain over here requires love and attention. It requires a deeper level of focus. But as a human being, if I'm just defaulting to what's familiar, what I'm competent at, what I know I'm good at, I'm now inaccurate with my energy and effort. And this is going to run out of runway. This is going to deteriorate. This is going to atrophy due to lack of accurate attention. If I'm spending all my energy and effort over here and another domain, like my marriage domain or my health domain, is suffering because of it, I'm inaccurate. The optionality here and the goal isn't to just completely stop and pause this and now put all of my energy to this domain over here. It's to temper this back to a place where it's healthy, and then I could take some of that energy and effort and put it to other domains that may be struggling right now, or maybe in a friction point, may require a little bit more love and attention in this season of my life. So if I only double down and focus on what I'm good at, that's a positive to a point. But I've got to really take an honest audit of, is that causing harm and suffering to another domain of my life? Again, similar to unsustainability, if I'm spending all this effort in work, but my health is not getting addressed at all, I need to recalibrate some of that attention so that I'm accurate, that my health gets attention, my marriage gets attention, my finances and career get attention, my spiritual life and my relationships and my passions. If we just do what we're good at, I promise certain things are going to suffer in that really intricate web of our life. So we've got to make sure that our effort and our energy is not only sustainable, but also accurate. The third reason that we burn out is that our energy and our effort is inauthentic. That a lot of us, if we think of the trajectory of our youth and coming in from young into teenage and our 20s and later into life, a lot of us, we go through school, we go through the motions, we come out of college, and we just take an opportunity because it has some promise of financial well-being. And it's not that we make these really conscious, aligned decisions of how we're going to spend the majority of our day, which over time becomes the majority of our life. We spend so much time and energy and effort and sacrifice in our careers that we've got to make sure that that career, or where I'm putting so much of my attention, is actually authentic to who I am, my principles, my values, that it's in alignment with my spirit. And if it's not, if my effort is inauthentic, what happens is I make these small compromises day after day after day, month after month, year after year. And every time we compromise our authenticity, every time we compromise our value, it's like putting a thin layer of armor on our body. Now, one layer isn't going to really be all that substantial. One layer isn't going to really be very significant. But if I put a layer of armor, a layer of armor, a layer of armor, day after day, month after month, year after year, over time, that gets incredibly heavy. And what happens to the human spirit is we feel trapped inside of this armored prison that we don't realize we've built through our unconscious compromises. That every day I do something a little bit out of alignment with my spirit. Every day I do something a little bit flirting with my values. I teeter that edge where I don't know if this is really part of my personal ethic or not. And so what happens is I can reconcile it in small doses in the moment. But when we zoom out and we look at a long horizon of years and decades, we start to realize that, man, through my inauthenticity, I have put layers and layers of armor on top of my vision, on top of my fulfillment, on top of my, passionate spirit of life. And it becomes and it feels a bit like an emotional prison. We feel trapped because now this is where my income comes, or this is where, how my relationship is. And I've dug these little holes of compromise over and over again. And now to go and disrupt the whole thing actually feels or could be interpreted or perceived as more painful than just let me keep going through the motions and hope that when I get to some certain point like retirement or my kids are out of the house or whatever it is, that everything is actually going to smooth out or, become copacetic then. And it's a really unfortunate self-induced error on our part where we are out of alignment over and over and over again. And we just feel like eventually we've dug that hole so deep, we don't even realize how to get out of it. The fourth reason that we burn out is because our energy and our effort feels meaningless. That every day I go through the same motions over and over again, and it doesn't really make any impact in my life or the lives around me in a greater community. There's no real dent in infinity that I'm making, that I'm just going through the motions. I'm not really being a contribution to the world. I'm not really contributing or being generous with my personal unique gifts in life. I'm just going in every day and I'm moving this from here to here, and nothing is really improved by my existence. That could be in our careers, that could be in our marriages, that could be in our health domain, that we develop this level of nihilism that who cares, what's it matter, and then we become resigned, as though it doesn't really matter what I'm doing or how I'm being. This is just life and there's nothing I can do about it. Although that might not seem like this fourth component, that it might not seem like I can burn out because I'm not necessarily putting this grand energy and effort into things, but that level of resignation and nihilism can actually burn out our spirit. It puts that fire in us out, that why even try? Because I know it's going to fail. I know I'm going to be disappointed. I know it's not going to work out. So why really actually take a risk and do something unique and meaningful in life? And so those are really the four reasons that we burn out, that my energy and my effort is unsustainable. My energy and effort is inaccurate. My energy and effort is inauthentic, or my energy and effort is meaningless. And so when that becomes our operating system, unconsciously, day after day after day after day, we start to build this trap for ourselves. And that trap is unsustainable, keeps us caught in a scarcity cycle. And the greatest sense of strategy we have is hope. Like, I just hope one day this is all going to work out. I hope that one day there's going to be an opening, and then when that opening comes, I'll then have the courage to take a risk and alter and change things for the better. Hope is a great element and a necessary element for optimism. It's a terrible strategy. I want to make sure that when I look at my operating systems, that I actually have discipline and focus and commitment and discernment and all of these things that allow me to create systems that allow my energy to be accurate, allow it to be sustainable, allow it to be authentic, allow it to be meaningful. And so when we look at, let's say, the first reason of unsustainability, we've got to make sure and start now, where can I put genuine attention to the things in my life that are unsustainable? Where are my health systems unsustainable? Start to clean them up. Where are my financial systems unsustainable? Start to clean them up. Where are my behaviors in my marriage unsustainable? Start to clean them up. Now that might seem a little strange or confusing, but I always think, if you come home every day in your marriage and you take out your stresses and unload on your partner and on your children, that's unsustainable. You don't have infinite amount of times where you can come home and just spew your stress onto your partner and your partner just infinitely say, keep going. Eventually our partners say, they have enough. You have a finite amount of time and finite amount of efforts where you can just come and dump your stresses and your lack of emotional acuity onto your wife or onto your husband. Eventually people have enough and they move out and they leave and they say enough is enough. That's an unsustainable system in your marriage. We've got to address that. We got to clean up those unsustainabilities. We got to develop a competency and a skill set that says this is the line and this is the threshold of healthy, and I'm living beyond that threshold of healthy, which is unsustainable. I only have a finite amount of times where I could unleash or even be, unconsciously abusive to someone before they say enough is enough. We get to temper that back so that we're in greater possession of ourselves. So where are those systems that are unsustainable in your finances, in your health, in your marriage, in your passion domain, in your relationships? Some of us are operating from an unconscious unsustainability. Don't wait to clean it up. Clean it up now. The second of accuracy, the good news with accuracy is it doesn't necessarily require more effort and energy. It just requires a shifting of effort, energy, and attention. If we default to what we're competent at, what we're good at, or what's familiar, I'm not saying subtract that domain to zero and then go put all your energy and focus into another domain. I'm saying temper it back so that that extra energy and attention that may be going to career or to work, you're reserving some of that to be accurate in your marriage, to be accurate in your parenthood, to be accurate in your finances, or to actually take that well-earned vacation, that well-earned time, connecting time with your family. Fill that cup back up. Doesn't mean subtract anything that you're good at to zero. It just means to have the discernment and the temperance and the prudence to get it into a potent level of accuracy and attention, and then take that surplus and put it to the things that maybe you've been ignoring. Maybe it's your health domain. Maybe it's your marriage domain. Maybe it's your leisure or passion domain. All those cups need filling. So rather than pour all of my energy and effort into one cup and hope that overflows to all my other cups, I put the accurate amount of attention into that one cup, and then I take that surplus and I distribute it so that my life has harmony and has fulfillment and has accuracy. The third reason for burnout, the inauthenticity piece, this is really the most subtle piece because, like I said before, it happens in small compromises, little by little over time. So we want to remedy that inauthenticity piece with really establishing what we value, our unique gifts and skill sets. Are we feeding them? Are we keeping that fire alive in us and allowing that to come through in our work, in our marriages, in our health, in our passions? Are we making sure that who I am deep down, that fire inside, that I'm feeding it over and over again in my life? That doesn't mean that I have to only make money on my passions in life and that has to be my career. But that part of us, that authenticity piece of us, really needs to be nurtured over and over again. We can't live in a state of subtle compromise over and over and over again and then expect it to create some deep level of fulfillment and prosperity in our life. It doesn't work that way. I want to make sure and maintain that my values and my principles, the things that really make me feel alive and light me up, that they're getting nurtured and fed through all of my domains in life on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. So I can't compromise that year after year and then expect to feel filled up later on down the road. The authenticity portion is, like I said, that story is an inward journey, that it's an inward story, that authenticity is reclaiming the authorship of my life, that the origin of my life, that I write the story of my life. I can't outsource that to someone or something else and then expect to feel whole and fulfilled and filled up internally. Authenticity must be the power that leads my life. The fourth component and the fourth reason for burnout is meaninglessness, like that my effort and my actions are meaningless. We've got to add a deeper sense of meaning to not only the big things in life, but even the small things. To do things purposefully, to do things intentionally and live deliberately, to establish that there's reasons I do certain things, there's impact that I make. Now, if you feel that you're burning out from this lack of meaning in life, don't try to climb the entire mountain in one sprint. Start adding meaning and deliberateness and purposefulness to even the small things in life, especially the small things in life. Start to tackle that low-hanging fruit of, just doing little things in a more meaningful way. To be deliberate, to be intentional, to do things on purpose. A lot of times people have meaning in life and purpose in life as this really, really big, overwhelming conversation. Start on the granular level. Start just deliberately leaving notes for your spouse. Start deliberately waking up early. Start deliberately eating a particular way that nourishes you. Start to move your body. Start to make those phone calls that you keep procrastinating. Start to add little bits of meaning and purpose and intentionality to your life in the little situations and scenarios. And that starts to grow into a deeper impact. We tend to think, the survival portion of our brain tends to think that only big efforts equal big results, when really it's small efforts consistently over time in a meaningful direction that create big results. So that meaning portion really allows us to take those small efforts and have them aimed towards something that is meaningful, enriching, fulfilling, and that has some level of impact on my life and the lives around me. So that's the fourth component that we want to address and reconcile. Those are the four reasons we burn out. Our efforts and our energy are unsustainable, they're inaccurate, they are inauthentic, or they're meaningless. Frustration and burnout and overwhelm don't come from lack of effort. They come from too much effort that's not getting appropriately reciprocated. So I want to make sure that my effort and the amount of effort and the capacity of the effort that I give, that my efforts are sustainable, my efforts are accurate, they're authentic to who I am, and they're meaningful in my life and the lives around me. That's how we cure our burnout. That's the antidote to harmonizing ascension and achievement and accomplishment while not sacrificing meaning and fulfillment and presence in life. That's how we reconcile it. And so I wanted to spend this time with you in this episode to highlight those and become aware of them, but also to start to realize we get to remedy them. Life isn't going to remedy them for us. There is no antidote. We are the antidote. So that's what I wanted to spend some time on this episode speaking with you about. As always, I appreciate you being on this journey with me. Until we meet again, be a good man, live a good life, and determine each of those for yourself.